in Nigeria alone, we have about 500,000 churches. I'm just making up these numbers. But I want to know, is Christianity really getting deep into where it should go? Are people really changing? Does it mean the church of nowadays are not as good as the previous years? Or does it mean that the churches of old are doing a better job than the church of now? Today we have our guest, the minister of the gospel, who is going to trash this out for us entirely, so we will know which one is preferred. We have Sir Wonderful around us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are very pleased to have you.
It's a pleasure.
So I want to ask you directly, which do you think is better off, the church of the old or the church of now?
Thank you. This is a very good question. This question has been one of my burden for quite a long time now. And I feel we should talk about it because I am standing on the note that the church of the old is better off compared to the church we have now.
You think the church of the old is better than the church we have now? Why do you say that?
Church is supposed to be a place where the people of the world can run into for safety. And when they get in there, they find the safety. And they not only finding safety, they find security. But the church of the now, we are not having that safety anymore. The fall of a brother is the joy of another brother. So what James was telling us in James 5:16 or so, when it says confess your sin to one another and pray for one another, it's not really happening anymore. If I confess my sin to another brother, he may use it against me or he will use it against me.
Okay, let me sorry to cut you, let me get something. When you say the church of old, are you referring to churches in the Bible or churches of 300 years ago?
No, not churches in the Bible.
Okay.
I'm looking at, this more like, people say this is a modern age in the 20-something century. I don't know. But back then in the early 90s, 80s, the church of old then were...
In the 90s and 80s.
The church of old then was how church should be. Because then you find out that the pastors were up and doing. They weren't into persuading you to give and not knowing why you are giving. They were so into evangelism, so into making sure souls are being preserved. But the church of now are not really key to that evangelism. They believe no matter how it is, if you live, you are on your own. They won't look for you.
If you say churches are not evangelizing, how do we have volumes in church? How do people come to church?
I love that. On many occasions, people go to church in quotes based on maybe if it's a trending church.
Evangelism.
Most of them go by their own self.
Evangelism.
Now, but in those days, if I come to your church and you didn't see me for like 1, 2, 3 days, you will be worried.
I have another question.
I'm with you.
These olden days, if I remove 20 years or 30 now, 1980, that's about 40 years from your age. How many go remain? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you speak about those olden ages, all of us are going to be young then.
Yeah.
So at what point do you really know what happens? Because I know, I am aware that everybody thinks what had passed is better than now, which I don't agree. And the reason for that is these things we hear about, they were hearsayings. None of us was there.
Okay.
And it was not written down.
Okay.
So it's from mouth to mouth, which means it's been doctored based on what our mothers and fathers want us to know. So as far as I'm concerned, this church of now is better than that of old.
I will still disagree with that. Because, in the early days, most of us were born in the 70s, maybe late 70s. And in between early 80s and 90s, there are things we have witnessed. You understand? So
I witnessed that my dad was not a Christian. I witnessed my mom went to a church that doesn't matter. They don't even know how to pray in the church.
Okay.
I don't want to start mentioning names.
Okay.
That was what I witnessed.
Yeah.
But they always give us 1 naira to give us. It wasn't even naira kobo.
Okay.
1 kobo to give us offering, and we always use it to buy granite. That was what
Okay.
that's what I usually do.
Yeah.
Because I see no reason why I would drop money in church where nobody's teaching me anything, because when they tell us to go to children's chapel, we just play around. That's all we do. Nothing was being taught. So I use my money to buy granite. I won't drop it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Now, the truth is, it depends on the age you were then. The church of the old then, they may not be so vast over the Bible like of now, but then they have this attitude of wanting people to understand what Christianity is. They have this passion of making sure decency is put in place. When you're coming to church, you dress properly.
No, that wasn't a church thing. It was a community thing. It wasn't from church. It was from the community.
Okay. But we are the church.
Yes, Christians are the people in church, right? But I'm talking about community in terms of people who are market sellers, people who are farmers, hunters. Everybody had a sense of how we should dress, how the community should look. It's like a community thing. It's ethics. It wasn't the Bible. It was ethics. In those days, you can't sleep with another man's wife.
That's right.
You will die, because there is Ogun and Shango and all of that. Now, nobody does that. In this era, everybody sleeps with themselves anyhow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a case of bad church. It was a case of what the community was then and what everybody was doing. So it wasn't about the church.
Okay. Let me correct that. I believe it was about the church, because the church then played so much role in observing details. The church then, they were so into making sure that if you are a born again, it can be seen on you. In the sense
let's identify it.
Yeah, that's
what you're saying is, and I don't want to sound like this, is a brainwash from the communities that brought Christianity. Okay. Understand that in way many years ago, there was no Christianity here.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't come to Nigeria or anywhere here. Somebody needed to bring that gospel here. They made it look to us like we had nothing on board working for us before they brought that. Guaranteed, my mother never wore an empty, scanty clothes all through her life. It wasn't because she was a Christian. My grandma never wore anything like this. I saw their clothes.
Yeah.
Even to today, you can still see my grandma's clothes. They never wore clothes like this. They never spoke profane words to anyone, including their husbands. They had a community that worked. Now, then, we wouldn't say it worked because they 100% lived in fear. You don't want to offend your next person because it's going to kill you with juju.
Okay.
But nowadays, I can offend you. You hand me over to God. So it now technically looks like the Christianity, which is the God of grace, Jesus is grace. That grace had given people so much liberty that they don't care about their lives.
Of the now?
Yes. But it wasn't a case of church. Because I know.
When you talk of church, are you talking of the walls or the people that come together
to study the word of God? The percentage of Christians in the world is about 48% or 47% in the whole world.
Okay.
So, in those days, at least, I can count. Maybe I'm overemphasizing what Christianity is. If you are not born again, you're just a church goer. I don't see you as a Christian. So, those days, I know these guys don't go to church. A lot of them, when we were in school, like young ages, they were just there. But the community wasn't bad. I remembered when we go to the farm, there was no church in my town. We only had one Anglican, and nobody goes there really. You see all those white priests and the black ones that had been taught, trying to preach to people, go to them, and like all these Jehovah's Witnesses, they are always on you. But still, you can sell firewood just by putting stones on it. Nobody will steal it. Nobody taught them. It wasn't because Jesus taught them. It was the community.
Okay. But the community gave them this consciousness of
living
the right life.
Yes. It now made it look like the church then were the ones that were good. No. The volume of people who are not going to church then, all of us are going to church now. Although ridiculously, nobody's changing really. Yeah. But everybody's going to church. But those days, they weren't going to church because they were truthful. They were taught the truth. They understand it. They don't cheat their neighbors. So if you ask me to come to church, I won't go because I don't understand whatever you're doing there, or I am not ready to go there. But as soon as they give their life to Christ, you can see that commitment. In this era, people go from club to church. You probably see them dancing the same dance
So that
in
is-
club.
This
in church.
era doesn't have this consciousnness or fear of where they are going to.
They do have it. They are even more learned now to understand, because everybody can. Those days, our forefathers don't know how to read the Bible.
Yes,
So it's whatever they are told that they
Yes,
agree
I
with.
know that.
But now everybody can read the Bible and knows that even if I commit sin, I'm going to ask God for forgiveness. So they continually to rot in the way of life that Jesus will always forgive me.
Okay. I came across a man. He's an aged man, a pastor. And we got talking. His understanding of the Bible cannot be compared to the one we have now.
Okay.
But there was this lifestyle he has that I am very, very attracted to. Because when we're talking about the Bible, he made mention of the lifestyle they were living then, that they inculcated to the people they were leading, living and leading. Now, these people try to portray a lifestyle that when you are coming to the church, there should be this sense of reasoning. Okay, this place I'm going to is more like a public place. I should be decent in my dressing. My character should show that I'm a Christian.
Absolutely.
Are we together? So the church of these days, this consciousness has left many Christians. So a lot of them dress to want to show off, and they forgot the fact that this place they are going to is more of a public place. And some people are sensitive to what you are wearing. It may give a wrong message to them. But in those days, people come to church with this ability of, I need to cover up, look very good because of where I'm going to. But the church of these days, we are missing it somehow, because a pastor tells you God expects you to be modest in your dressing. Now, God will not come down to correct your dressing. He's going to give somebody a vision of how good you should look. Just like when Moses were giving laws that men should not. No, at some point, people have spoke about that it wasn't really how it was interpreted now. Because then...
that it was there.
Because then, according to how some people have come to understand it, Moses was talking to the women or the men. Let me put it straight the way it is, or the way it was then. He was trying to make the men not wear the things that pertains to the women, in the sense that in those days men don't go to war, and at some point in those days we have this
women don't go to war.
Women don't go to war, and then we have this homosexualism going on, and you see men dress like a woman to sneak into the hut where other men dwell. So now the church now misinterpreted it now, and they were like, maybe in the church saw it to be like, okay, since this man is saying this, then I shouldn't wear trousers to church. But they forgot that, okay, women have decent trousers they can wear to church. And a lot of them started wearing some kind of trouser that when you see them, it will give you a wrong message. It depends on if you are a born again Christian.
Let me back up a little. Like, let me do it. Hold up.
Okay.
Now this is what I'm feeling like. What's going through my head? There is modernization that everybody, including the crops we plant.
Yes.
In the olden days, if you plant maize, it probably has just 2 bunches and that's it. Now there was modernization, and just 3 grains of maize could bring 14, bunches. The same thing goes into transportation. We have cars that are fast cars. We have everything. It goes to human beings as well, including our dressing. And that also goes through us as human beings. In the olden days, I can guarantee, tell you that our forefathers had control more than the men, like bodily control, sexual control, more than the men of these days. Because of exposure. In the olden days, I know my mom had a cloth called oleku. I don't know if you know the cloth oleku. A shotgun like this. They usually wear it. Now, they don't wear it to church because they weren't even going to church. So, but they wear it like normal on the street. They have all these shotguns. Then they have all these, they call it mistress gowns. They had their own fashion too. There were bad people who are going to hell in that era too. So it wasn't like the church did a perfect job and everybody was going to heaven in that era. So the fact that we're even saying they are better than now, no, people are going to hell too in that era. So nothing is good about that. And the volume of people living is different. But now, modernization had come in. In those days, we only know about our culture. I prostrate to greet my father. I don't wear this type of clothing. It's all native.
That's right.
But then we now have scenarios whereby we have access to Americans who probably don't have the same sexual drive as we have, and now we want to dress like them. Is that culture that is disrupting our lifestyle? It's not like the devil is doing extra work. No, we just. I saw one celebrity wear a skirt that they wear in Republic of Ireland.
A male celebrity.
Yes, he said that's what they wear in Dublin. He just mentioned the name of the place. And now, if I was in Osun State and I'd never even seen Lagos before, how will I go and wear a skirt? Because I think it's always like when you travel, you gain new things. That's how they say education is also traveling. Like you see a new thing and then you practice it. So most of them are also practicing what they see. Now, in the olden days, that would not have affected anybody. Because after all, you're not coming to church before. So even if you end up practicing whatever, it's not affecting the church. But now, everybody is forming to be a Christian.
Okay.
So they come to church with whatever stupidity. They are not well trained. You know, if you have a solid Christian, nobody needs to preach you to not wear bad thing. That's not even a point. If you say you have accepted Jesus, what did Jesus take from you? He should have taken some things from you. So even if you are wearing those clothes before, you have to drop them. So at which point are you supposed to wear bad clothes? Is it before or after Jesus? It's not supposed to exist. But we now have people who just go to church, like you said, for flaunting whatever they are wearing, looking for. Yes, they are going to look for a husband in church. Look at what I call about cultural differences. In the olden days, if I need to marry a girl, I go to her father. I don't go to girl. I don't go to the girl. I go to her father. The father will now say, okay, we'll go and meet your father, and then we'll see if our children can do something. Nowadays, you see a girl, you walk up to the girl, they start sleeping together. Nobody even knows who is who. They don't even know themselves' name. They call themselves alias. And if you ask the girl, what do you like in this guy? Just say, we are vibing. We are always vibing because they are chatting. So that's why you see marriage in 24 hours will end because there is nothing. There is no heart, anything breathing. They just love the Yahoo money that the boy is spending. Even if you ask the guy, can you imagine somebody who had dated a girl for a year, and then you say, what's his name? Say Edward. The Yahoo name that he's using, that's the one he knows. Okay, Edward what? They just call his friends, call him Edward or Jasper. And he's from Imo State. Who did they name Edward Jasper in Imo State? So you don't even know his Chibuke name. You don't know his Chibuzo. He's not Chinasa, nothing. And they had 1 year, about 4, 5, 6. So it's not the church. It's not like they don't know it. You know, it's like half-baked education. If you tell anyone, in the olden days, while we go to preaching, all those 95, 96, when we go out for evangelism, people will argue with you, get out. They will send you away. What nonsense, Jesus? Sometimes they will threaten us with all their Ogun and all of these stuff. They don't have interest in Jesus. So we'll start praying that God will arrest them until they're arrested and they need help, and then we come again, you know. We continue like that till we win their soul for Christ. Now, as soon as you meet anybody, Jesus loves you, you say, yes, I'm attending. Don't let me mention it.
Yeah, I get it.
If you say, now, when somebody says he's attending a very huge church, that their pastor is popular, even if you ask you what's your own church, your church is not popular. Yeah. Nobody knows your pastor. So technically, you have been defeated. Okay. So it's not the church. It's more like the community, the society, the culture had been erupted, and now it's affecting the church because they're already parodying as if they're in church. In the olden days, if you commit one single sin, you will be afraid to come into church.
That is where I'm driving at.
Community.
Because the church thing now, you have divided it into two. Mm-hmm. Community and church.
Yes.
Me, I'm talking of the church itself, the way it is now and then.
But you know, the church came to meet the community. The church did not create the communities.
Okay.
So the church doesn't have that outright. You know, most time we just abuse maybe pastors, preachers and all. For God's sake, an average preacher, maybe he was even 26 years old before he himself gave his life to Christ. So for 26 years, you've been living balablu. And then you gave your life to Christ because you saw the light. But it wasn't like they deleted your brain. it now takes the Holy Spirit to continue to rinse you and rinse you and rinse you. But in between your rinsing, you are still in the world where the community had erupted into church and is corrupting the church. And for pastors, because that's even the worst part,
Okay.
all pastors are now full-time. So pastor go talk, say no, wear these trousers. Who go call remain for in church?
That's right.
So everybody is now using sense for it.
From what you are saying now,
Mhm.
how do you balance the born again of these days?
The Bible says, let the wheat and the chaff grow together. Hallelujah.
You know, the truth
I'm
is,
just quoting what
the
the
truth
regular
is,
pastor
no, I
said.
understand you. The truth is, I'm trying to make us understand that the Christianity of these days is nothing compared to the ones we have then. Now, when I talk of the Christianity, I mean the people that demonstrate the life of Christ from church in church. Now, this is not about a community now. It's about the place they go into for worship. There are times I have witnessed some growth in church because people go to church then knowing that if I go to church, I will find job opportunity because the pastor will probably follow me up, making sure that I am living a good life and can recommend me to anybody that comes for an employment, maybe needs. So what I'm trying to make us understand that the church then, they were so into this knowledge of who they are and what they are into. They weren't so into what the community gave them. Because if the community is telling them, okay, dress half naked, they have the ability to change it so as to correct what the community gave them. Because of a truth, when Jesus was on the mountain after his 40 days and 40 night fasting, the first person to confront him was the devil. Now the devil brought this picture that we are having now. Serve me and I will give you everything you want. Now, it's possible that these are the community mindsets. They are bringing things that the devil has bestowed before they were born. Now, but the church with the knowledge of Christ in them can turn those things away to giving them the rightful life they should live. So that when they come to Christ, they will find safety, not having this mentality of what the community has been living with them with for a long time. So the church has a way of reshaping our mindsets, reshaping our way of life. So the community now shouldn't corrupt a born-again Christian, but rather a born-again Christian should influence the community to knowing the truth and the difference between going to church and being
You think these people don't know the truth?
They are blind.
No.
They are blind.
Have you seen someone, because I have, who was smoking Igbo, who were always preaching at prisons. So some of them that got released, they will come back to the society and they don't know how to mix up and all of that. And they were smoking Igbo. I continued to speak with them and I discovered they didn't realize that smoking is not good. They know. So he's like, he gave up on himself because he went to prison because of cultism at, he was about 21 and he did about 19 years there. So he doesn't even know who he is again. So he's trying to come back to the society. That Nigeria had done turn Balablu before he came back. So a lot of things had gone wrong. And then he said the only thing he can do is to be smoking. Funny enough, he said he was their pastor in prison. Because, you know, he was the one that gave me all the story that they have pastors in prisons that give special treatments and all that. He was a pastor there that he knows all the Bible. That the only thing he did for that 19 years was read the Bible. But when he came out, survivor instinct clicked in. He doesn't even know what to do. He went back to that. Now we'll say it's the devil. But guaranteed, if the society was cool, you see those olden days, they had jobs. So they are not under pressure. Those olden days, they had farms. So survivor for them was not bad. So when you say I give my life to Christ, these days, like I was telling one of us the last time, I said, just pray that this money you don't have, don't try for your own interest to look for money the bad way. Because if the devil gives you money, there's no day you will accept Jesus Christ again. Because I spoke to someone who has money. He's an elder in church. And he said he's making money the wrong way, but he can't stop. He's struggling with the fact that he can't stop making money. Yes. And if he drops that, the whole family and everybody on him will go hungry. He practically told me, he said, Pastor, who will buy petrol in this fuel? Who will buy petrol in these generators? Because he's going to probably go from maybe making 6-7 million per month to zero. Because everything is like they are turning books.
He's
they
a
are
pastor of
twisting.
this era, I guess.
Yes. He's an elder. He's not a pastor. He's an elder. Then God told me that people in this era, 98% of them will not go to heaven because of the way they are making money.
That is where I'm driving at. Now, this thing God told you on the note of church, not community. You know, there was
who gives us, is it church that gets us jobs?
I know it's the community, but it's not the community that should give us decency as a
So
Christian.
when I'm hungry and I can't borrow, I can't steal, and then somebody now tells me that I should follow him to somewhere, and I know that this person will go and twist something there, but he will give me 100,000 when we come back. Will I talk?
Yeah, it's true.
Because it's fun if we are in a good place and everybody is still happy, but when survivor kicks in, you don't want to die. You're telling me I will go to heaven. I beg, okay? Leave heaven first.
Okay.
Make our shop first.
Okay.
Then we'll come back to that. So that survivor instinct is what is affecting a lot of this generation, and now the influence that comes with that. But in the olden days, I'm telling you, look, in the olden days, if you are hungry, your neighbor will give you food.
Okay.
This era, nothing like that happens.
I agree with you. But let me take you back to the Bible.
Mm.
You know, this survivor thing got into the church. And at some point, when Jesus was coming with the king, they thought he wanted to perform a miracle. You remember where I'm driving at?
Mm.
Now, they call it bazaar. They were buying and selling for survival purpose. When Jesus got in, he had to correct what the community brought into the church. The church is not supposed to have such going on.
This particular scenario, people that are selling in church are not outsiders. It wasn't that the community taught them.
No, the community influenced them.
No,
Do you know most of these community people give products to the church members for the bazaar purpose?
Where was that in the Bible? Is it an assumption?
I'm trying to,
the Bible
not
didn't write
assumption. If I don't want to call it the name of the denomination, but
that's the problem.
They have this program called bazaar. So it is a period where they get to sell.
I told you that whatever anybody had said, these ones are always doctored and tailored. The only thing I listen to is the Bible. Whatever the Bible did not cover, I don't want to hear it. Like, because I can tell you, it's just like husband and wife. If anything happens, meet the husband first. Let him tell you the scenario. Then meet the wife. The same scenario will be a little different.
That's right.
Even when they are not lying. Now imagine when people are consciously trying to protect their interest. Have you noticed that all fathers will say they are the one that took first when they were in school?
Yeah, that's right.
And before we knew what was happening, all fathers were saying it. And it's not like they did the town hall meeting to say all of us fathers will be saying this to our children. So you cannot imagine when some people are saying bazaar, nobody was there. The Bible did not record it. Some people will say some history recorded it. I don't go into history because I go into sciences.
So what do you feel was happening? No, I'm calling it what they call it now.
The way I relate with the Bible is I use these modern events to check it out. In church now, let's say in our church, can somebody who is an unbeliever from outside carry rice and beans or whatever and come into church and come and sell? The people that can sell are the pastors, the elders, the ushers. They already know after service they always need something. So it's the people that are trying to survive. They are Christians. And what Jesus told them is, I do not allow you to sell in my father's house. When it's our father's house.
Yeah.
So it's not only Jesus that church is his father's house. Me too, I'm a son now. So it's my father's house. But I can't go and sell because Jesus had said you can't. If he didn't do that, we'll probably just turn church to another and put an PLC by the back of it and start selling. So now everybody knows that even if you have to sell anything, you would remove it from church. You will leave something Christian Church of God or alone. Then you can create your own and be selling. Otherwise, you would have just see NMP, just like NMPC, you see Redeem petrol station. Would have been doing that because his business, but now you can't see Redeem. You might probably see another covenant or something, but it won't bear that name again. So that was the significance of that. Not that some people came to bring this or bring that. No. After it drove them out, they would probably still go and be selling somewhere to survive. Survival is the first instinct of every human being. If you can
That's right.
survive in Christ, you will get to heaven almost very easily, unless the devil just sows a devilish sin in you.
Okay.
If you survive, for example, you have your salary, you are not cheating, you are not stealing, you have a regular life. As a Christian, you should not have long throat. It's not like you want to be like some people. That's another problem.
Yeah.
I want to be this, I want to be big this. If you want to be big, you can be anything. Just make sure you are doing it in Christ. But for people who are outside, because that's the thin line. Even for me, I keep thinking about it. Let's say this is a church. I'm the pastor there, and I'm ministering. And then I see a girl in miniskirt. How do you deal with that? You send him out? You send her out? No. Because the Bible says you have to follow. I came to my people, they didn't accept me. I had to go to these Gentiles and then bring them in. So in the pastor's mind, he wants you to turn to Christ. So if he doesn't show you enough love, that means he's chasing you back. Because he's in church already. If a lady is in church, he's in church. So you now have to look for, some churches those days, they are all this, they are mama. They will quickly call you. They can give you rapper. They will embarrass you and those people go. But now, those new pastors now, they are trying to figure out a way. It's just like inventors. You probably fail 999 times before you get it right once. If one of them gets it right once, they now know how to deal with all these unbelievers when they come to turn them to Christ just by the Spirit of God. They will do it. Nobody is going to be happy for naked people to just be in his church. That's right. I can guarantee, no matter, even if you're a goat as a pastor, you can't like it. But you can't send them away. You continue to preach. And when you preach for people, it's for God to show them light. At what point will you know that what you are saying has got into their mind? And it's going to be one by one. And look at the statistics. 100 people in church, 20 people are naked, 5 people accept Jesus, remain 15, but next week they bring another 30. That's 45 people. Anybody who came to church last week say, it's like there are plenty naked in this church. You will know that 5 actually converted, another 30 came. And everybody just goes to the pastor. Pastor is not doing it. Especially maybe the day you went to church. The pastor is talking about what they call Kore in English. All this convention or something. And I say, we want to give to the Lord. You say, instead of him to tell all these people that are naked, they are giving to the Lord. Meanwhile, last week, he spoke about salvation. He won't just continue to speak about salvation every... Because people will have needs in church. You probably have vacancies that you can employ. We have to talk about that. We have families that we have to say, okay, don't be fighting your wife, don't be fighting your husband. We are probably going to talk to university students who are going to school. So at the end of the day, because our needs now, that's why I believe this church is better than the old. In the old, there was nothing now. People don't have ambition those days. Let's be frank, they don't have ambition. My dad was his teacher, and that was it. That was it. I was 21 years old when I had all my daddy had then. If you have ambition those days, they'll tell you the devil has taken over you. Poverty was like a thing for them. If you are extremely rich or you just have one unnecessary money, na devil you deserve. That's the mentality. So they kept it low. So when this generation are coming up, they're like, no, I can be blessed. My God that I serve. And then that's how ministry of money came in now. And now God is raising us up to tell them it's not that money. You can have money, but make sure consciously have it in Christ. Otherwise, direct entry to fire.
Okay. Let me take you back to the falling of some pastors and the mockery and the covering. The one that is happening these days, can you compare it to what could happen way back if a pastor fell? Maybe, this funny thing that could just tempt a pastor, he falls. And there is this knowledge that this pastor is first a man of God, a man before of God. Of this period, many pastors will mock him instead of covering him. But I believe in those days, it wasn't like that. If a pastor falls, it's a pain to other pastors to cover him up. They won't push him out to the media. They won't push him out to the world to mock. Because they believe what happened to him should not be spoken about by the people of the world. They will find a way to secure what happened to him in prayers.
Yeah, but at what point will we now say that you are covering evil? If, let's say, a pastor had gone to commit adultery, and then we other pastors are trying to cover it from media. At what point?
Now, the covering has to do with prayer. Like I said, he is first a man before the God. Of a truth, we have had so many scandals of pastors, social media and everywhere. and the people of the other faith get into the matter to do their mockery. But in those days, if a pastor falls and meets you as a fellow pastor, if he tells you, he's telling you because of the safety he knows he will get. Not just safety, you will pray with him, you will follow him up. You will make sure he doesn't go astray from the path.
But you know these ones we are talking about, they are not the ones that come out though. It's their prayer that come out. You know, this one you are saying now, even then, if a lady comes out and says, Pastor raped me or touched me, now allow. The only thing that makes it a little calm then was there was no social media. But nowadays, those girls will go first to social media. So they start the judgment from social media. It's no longer in the house of God.
Yes,
the judgment starts from social media. But in those days, pastors, when they fall, they always recognize it because they don't want to repeat it.
Yeah,
they go back and probably look for restitution by telling their co-pastors who they will discipline them. We had that in our church those days. They disciplined the pastor, but it wasn't, they disciplined those pastors, but it wasn't a case of you hearing from outside. It's the pastor that comes to report in themselves. And just like I said, it's the same scenarios. I told someone that the number of girls I knew from when I was in secondary school to university, if I calculate all of them, that I knew their name, maybe like 20. Where will I know you from? Even if we're in the same school, I don't know you. It's only people in my class. Now, the number of girls and women that I know is about maybe 1 million. Why? Social media. So for small children who are teenagers, who we know we want to explore, we are in trouble already with this social media thing. He wants to explore, which normal children do. It's just a growth thing that when you are growing, you start growing boobs, your friends will start saying things to you, you start menstruating, girls will start asking questions. The older, terrible people who are men, maybe university people, they will start preying on them. And normally, as a young girl, you are looking up to all these university people. Hey, you're a medical doctor in school. So normal interest. But these ones are now grown. They are devilish. So they know how to prey you and destroy you. And then when they destroy this one in secondary school, that one to destroy the other one. And then boom. And then they have access to themselves. In the olden days, and I remember these days, if I see anyone I like in the market, immediately you turn like this and she turns, that's the end. You can't see her again. Then you start praying that if my heart is with this person, let me see her again. And then you will never see her again. But these days, all you need is, even if it's a part of a shirt that you can snap, do Google image search. They will tell you the person that wore that shirt, which day. So that access is what is destroying everything.
Okay.
So, like I said, and if we talk about access, is it Christianity that brought it? Is it God? Culture? Society?
You're really so into this society.
I'm telling you, if you look deep into it, that's why
I want to know deep about it.
One of the reasons.
Why are you merging society and church?
Because the church exists on the society. The president of a country can tell you nobody will go to church today, and nobody will go.
Okay.
So, does that tell you that it's built on society? The president can say no, just like they did to Daniel and all this. They can kill. What killed Jesus? Is it not society that killed Jesus?
Yeah.
So it is still on there till today. So I understand that if you want to break even and be a real Christian, know what the society is throwing, know where you will block them out. I do homeschooling for my children for that reason. I don't want to make sure. Let them learn what they should learn pure. When they grow, they will not depart. And anyone that wants to depart, I've tried my best.
Yes.
But when they mix, why do you think I isolate myself from mixing with anything? I don't. For a whole year, there's no mixing. Anything outside church, none. You can't see me at an event. You can't see me at anywhere. Zero. My house, the office, church. My house, the office, church. The reason is I identified that Adamic nature of men will move towards sin than move towards God. God is a strange thing in our body. We eat the fruit. Most of us that are Christians will make it look like we are the best. And no, you should identify where your weaknesses are so you can't fall into it. So I know that if you continue to mix with the world, you will join them. It's just a matter of time.
Okay, let me, you just said something very striking. You said if you identify with your weaknesses. Now, what do you say to pastors that are gay? Do they see it as a weakness to identify with it and find a way to pray themselves away from it? Now, I have seen interviews where pastors that are gay pastors were invited for an interview. And they try to defend it. So what do you say to that? Even after they have identified that they are this, is it right for them to still live in that habit when they know that this is not God's plan? There was never a time in the past that God formed a man to having an affection for a fellow man. Why is it now coming to the point of rubbing off on the pastors?
I was on a podcast, it's been about 4 or 5 years now, where someone said all these gays and lesbians it's like a biological thing.
Okay.
So they were proving it. And while in that podcast, they had all their points. They've done their homework. But I knew it was wrong spiritually. But there was no proof for me apart from quoting the Bible.
Okay.
So I started praying. What do I answer with? Then that was the best thing the Holy Ghost ever gave me in terms of this gazing.
Okay.
He said in the garden, human beings ate the fruit. Are you ready for this?
I'm with you. It's getting exciting.
Animals did not eat it.
I'm just hearing this.
Animals did not eat the fruit. Eve ate it and gave it to Adam. Did lion eat fruit?
Okay.
So the fall of man is not the fall of animals. But because we have dominion over them, they just naturally followed us. He now told me, have you seen a gay cow before? Have you seen a gay chicken before? I said no. He said it is not biology. It is not nature. People learn it. Subconscious, they learn. Everything you know was learnt. So nothing was biology. It was learnt. When we were young, our mothers will tell you, if you want to do naming showers, if you're a girl, they'll give you color pink. If you're a guy, they give you blue or white, whatever. Do you know if they thought it was pink for men, it's pink that we think is good? Everybody learned. The light here, the microphone, everybody learned. Some people are the pioneers in the beginning. Those ones are the real ones that God gave the power of creation. That recreation is more evident in some men. Some people are consumers. They will ever be consumers. Some people are producers. So they produce. You see, those producers are the power. They are the ones that have the power of the world.
Okay.
People that can lean frequencies together. People that Elon Musk made electric car. Forget the money. People are always looking at the money. Look at the innate thing that has gone into that. A man that is about 50-something years old, who never started that journey until he was 30-something. So within 20 years, you could produce an electric car that everything around it said is not possible. Okay. And today the world has it. BMW is doing it. Benz is doing it. Mercedes, like all of them are creating now. From a position of impossibility, you now have all of this. God himself multiply himself in men to recreate. Okay. That's not to do with Christian, Muslim, or whatever. Okay, you would recreate. Now, in the beginning, there was nothing like that. But when you have enormous power from what you are recreating, you become a mini God, like Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. So unless God humiliates you, you can just come up with whatever in this mentality of recreating. So they created keys.
Okay. So these pastors learned it while growing up.
Yeah, they now let me tell you something. When people say, hey, I'm a pastor, I'm a this, of course you can stand up. Okay, John can stand up and say, I'm Pastor John. Nobody will say you are not. Because you say, I'm hearing from God. Anything you say. There would always be followers, even if you are a demon. Demons are followers. Yes, devil left heaven, some people followed. Some angels come to the world and slept with some people, they stayed. So no matter what you are, Igbo sellers are people who are buying. Because I always wonder, why would I be smoking Igbo? But some people are buying it and smoking it. Some people will say I can't use drugs. Some will be using drugs anyhow. Everybody must have customer.
So in a case like this, what do you feel they are teaching their followers?
It's the signs of the end time. If you say, if I come up and say I'm gay, but I'm a lecturer, it doesn't affect the kingdom of God.
Now, does normal people attend such church owned by a gay pastor?
Yes, because we call it indoctrination. You can do what you never thought you would do if you have interest in what that person has, or you have sentiment or sympathy. We call it sympathetic strategic moves. These things is psychology. I can learn to start controlling you, and you will never know I'm controlling you. I told you, creators have some innate powers that normal people don't have access to. In the olden days, the only rich people in the olden days, like far, all these, the first time of this name has skipped me, those people that came and packed slaves in Africa to US, all those guys those times, they had access to books and they never let it open to others. They know how to trade. They know, even to today, people are suffering. It's not because I can guarantee to you everybody can be wealthy if they know what wealth means. But they don't understand. That's why they did not put it in the curriculum of schools when they created schools. They were looking for people to work for them. If they teach you what they know, that's why somebody like me, I'm teaching what I know, it's like it will backfire. When I teach you what will make you wealthy, you will become wealthy. You won't be my boy or come and be under me or come and work on that. You will leave. So people that know these secrets will never tell people who are under them because they want them to continue working. That's what makes them richer. So those days, there was no book. Only those, even the kings of the Bible, they call it Wala. It's big like this. They will keep it in one hidden place. Nobody can get there. They're the only ones that read it. So they know what to do. They know how to negotiate. They know what was the wisdom that Solomon had? Information. It's not like God opened his head or did something for him. Because passed information to him and ability to understand. He said, I'll give you the spirit of understanding. So not everybody that sees or reads. If I look at this thing, it interprets in my brain separately. When you see it as color green. For me, I now know, then I create a product on Amazon and then boom, I have $2 million. And we saw the same thing. But my brain understands. So it's the spirit from God. But God gave to everyone at a larger percentage in terms of gifts. So the problem now is, that's what I want to hear. When those people have it, they manipulate it. Some people are in control of this world. I know their names. All these names are not good with names. Ask yourself this question. Who make the plane parts? That planes fly all over the world and they don't crash. Somebody started it now. So who's controlling the world? It's not devil. Nobody says it's devil. Human beings. They pass it to their children's children. I know their names. They are even becoming popular now that social media is here. They are the owner of banks. They will know what it means for trade. They are the ones behind trade. Somebody started cryptocurrency. That's right. He started it. He's the one that built all these what they call it, crypto chains, long chain, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So somebody will now say he's running. The human beings. It's not devil. The devil does not touch computer. Human beings are the ones behind it, so they can manipulate based on what their gains wants to be. So, and that gain, if it is now time to start, look at America now. America fall is here. And I don't want to go into scriptures, propagating that Jesus will come so here because some people are rumoring it based on what the Bible said and the revelation. I'm not interested in all of those. But realistically, it's looking like it. BRICS formed alliance. China, South Africa, they're trying to bring Nigeria on. They want another currency. Dollar is falling. And instead of America to do something about the economy and the world powers and all they are busy fighting. They are doing transgender, gay. That's what they are doing. You can identify as a goat if you like. You can identify as a woman. They are cutting their genitals. That's what they are busy doing. You will tell me that somebody did not sow that to them. Somebody started it. He knew, I'm going to distract you with this. Just look at politics in Nigeria. They know what to give to the populace. They are wise enough. They control us like torchlights. Okay. And that is exactly why I said the culture in communities will always come to fight. The reason Jesus could not fall to the devil with the explanation you made the last time, when he said, look at everything, I'll give it to you. Jesus came from heaven. It's like me, you offer me that I should come and join one bad gang for 100,000 naira. Will I even consider it?
So what do you talk of Job? Did Job come from heaven?
No. Did
he fall for the...
No. They didn't give Job anything. They took what he had.
But the wife and friends, they persuaded him and made him have this impression of cursing God and that.
That's their own. This is what I always say.
But he refused it because he's not from heaven.
He refused it because all his life he had lived with God, and it was God that gave him that thing. It's like me now. If I lose everything, I lost everything. When I was to be a pastor, I lost everything because I didn't want to be a pastor. I lost everything I had. But did I ever curse God? No. Ever. I loved him more. I went penury that I don't even have money for Indomie for years.
Because of you know who you are.
It was God that gave me the money. That's why I'm saying just have everything inside God. For those of us that are lucky enough, and I'm saying luck because it's heavy blessings. If you make your source of income from the world, you are done. Because survival is the first instinct.
Okay.
So Job had everything in God. So when he went away, he attributed it to the person that gave me this handkerchief, you collected the bag. What's my own? But the other people didn't know. I said, better cause God is a bad person. You know, being give me. So it was a little easier for him.
But you know, at some point, he caused the day he was born.
Because that's him. Because he felt like if the pain was more. Look, me, I don't usually cry then. I'm not Job. I'm not even close to Job. But I will just stay on my own like this, and tears will be coming from my face. Not like I'm crying. I will be seeing the tears. I'll be cleaning it. And I'm not crying. That's how painful it was for me to go to penury from position of power and money, and I don't even know what to do to it. And I had all the intelligence I could blame. God just humbled me completely, and he was telling me, "Don't worry, I'll put you." Which day? He didn't say. Yeah. So it was very terrible. I have a wife. I have children. My wife from Oyibo Pepe became Somalia, black, complete from head to toe, Kenya, and I couldn't do anything. At some point, I'll be begging her. That wasn't what I promised when I got married to you, and I don't know what to do. And guess what? I knew the computer like anything. I could easily do Yahoo then, without even with my eyes closed. I didn't. I had options, but I didn't want to go to the world to take any of the options. I'd rather die in Christ than go to the world.
Now, this is what you know of yourself,
exactly,
and who you have on your inside. Now, let's come into the church now. Back then, do you feel there was gay pastors running church?
There is any gay pastor that come now, they are coming on an agenda. This is not normal. It's God versus devil.
I was watching an interview. They invited a gay pastor, and it's like the interviewer asked him, "What of your wife?" He pointed a male. Now, they got talking. The man told him, "You know you are a gay. How come you are still confident with this thing you call pastor? How are you preaching God to the people that are following you?"
No. The people following are not following Christ. They are following him.
That is why I said the church of these days is nothing compared to the church of then.
I think I understand what you are saying now. Because these people you call church, they are not churches. They are parodies. It's just more profitable now to call it a church. In the olden days, it was profitable to call your establishments herbalists. People were visiting herbalists. They were not visiting churches. But when scenarios moved, today, can anyone raise up their hand and say, "I'm going to an herbalist house"? Anyone. Even when you see pastors that have calabash, all these people, I see them online, they will be beating people in the society will be beating the pastor for using calabash and all these cowries and all. They will be beating them that you are a fetish. But in the olden days, nobody was beating anybody for being fetish. It was cool. So now everybody knows that you can't go this way again. This is what is profitable. So there is Church of Devil now. I saw one online where the pastor right in church they don't wear anything to that church. They only wear bra and pants. The men wear boxers.
That's Church of these days.
Yes, Church of these days. That's the name they call it. They stream it on YouTube.
You see why I said the Church of the old days?
We can't mix it together because even then there were Pharisees then now. Not be all these Pharisees kid Jesus. They were churches too now.
See, the truth
synagogue.
Is this. The truth is this. I still want to maintain the fact that the church of the olden days
that you were told,
that I was told and I witnessed.
You didn't witness it.
I witnessed it.
You are young.
And
you really didn't know the value you have now. You didn't have it then.
I like this. Now, but there were things we got to know then that has to do with decency and knowing the Bible and the value it has.
But we still have churches that have that.
That is what I'm saying. It can't be compared to the one we have then.
Then how many churches do we have? Now let me say this again. I'm looking at it from another perspective. In my old town, when we were younger, we had 3 churches in the old town. Now we have about 3,000 churches. So when you have something that is that large volume, one to control. You see, some people will do PFN. Some will do Pentecostal this. Some will do Association of something this. So, because they're trying to group so that there will be control over whatever people do. But even at that, you can just open your sitting room tomorrow and write Sawanda Church of Christ there, and people will still come. Because some people are hungry. When you put rice, they will come and eat rice. They will still worship with you. and that's it.
Okay, so what do you think of these our fathers? I don't want to mention their names, so you should know their way of evangelizing and going to villages for this same redemption purpose compared to the fathers we have now. Their way of evangelizing and going to villages for soul winning. Can you compare it to them?
Let me use myself as an example.
Okay.
In Abuja, somebody told me there is one place, if you are going to Niger, you can buy food that is cheaper. I say, you and who? For me to go and buy cheap food, I can't go. Because I told you I isolated myself like for years. So I have phobia to even get to where there are 15 people, except this is in church. I can't go. If I go to a regular market, unless it's a supermarket, I would probably faint. So when they say they are going to one village to go and minister, I don't think so. And I'm not even joking here. Unless God.
As the pastors of these days.
I'm saying me.
Okay, you.
I can't go. So an average pastor who went to Unilag from, maybe his father lives in Ikeja, and then went to Unilag, and from there went to Anambra for NYSC, and then went for masters in UK, and then God called him and then started ministry work, and then you tell him to go to one bush inside Abia to go and minister. He will probably die before he gets there.
Yeah.
So that's what I call modernization. It's a lot of pressure, and that's why God calls everybody to work and to cover a jurisdiction. I'm 100% sure God called Moses to go back to Egypt because Moses knew Egypt.
Okay.
It's not random. God always have a plan.
Are you
and
now
calling.
saying sending a pastor to where he doesn't know to cover jurisdiction is not?
The pastor will have like my elder brother, he can just stand up here and go to Bayelsa. Bros, what are you going to do in Bayelsa? Say anything they do there, will go and meet them.
It's happened back then.
So if you now become a pastor, God can send you to Akwa Ibom or Qatar, anywhere, because he's used to it. If you send me to the next street in my place, I'm in trouble already. It's not in my nature. God, that's the thing. Most people don't know their calling. They don't know what they have to cover. Everybody just calling, especially in Nigeria, and apologies to all quarters. Everybody sees calling as being a pastor or going to church. Nobody sees calling as become a cobbler to make shoes for everybody to wear so they won't injure their legs.
Yeah, they won't see that.
Yes, nobody see calling as somebody who's sewing good clothes so that our girls will not be naked to church again. You can create something trendy that will still be fashionable, that they will be comfortable with. Nobody is seeing that as calling. So everybody, and this is our pastors. I see calling of God on you. Everybody now has church now. So pastors are more than members. So when pastor will be fighting themselves that you collected my member. And they say it's Church of God. So because you people are calling everybody to come and work as pastors, but you can be a pastor and maybe be teaching financial intelligence. All of us are in trouble because in church everybody is poor and they are shouting on top of their voice, collecting the remaining 50 naira they have to give to church, to buy window, to buy, and they are remaining poor and they are dying poor. But somebody has a calling. He might be an accountant and God teaches you that, and then it's not to say in Jesus' name I pray or come and pray over you. No, you're teaching them how to have financial intelligence, and then boom, God is using you to add value to everybody, and they start making money. They are no longer poor. But most people don't see that. If a pastor will not even see that as calling.
I know of a pastor. He's still alive now. One of our fathers. God called him, according to what I heard about him, though he's still alive. He's an evangelist.
Mm-hmm.
He don't own a church.
Uh-huh.
So at least he understands his own calling.
Yes.
He's still living by it.
Yes.
But many these days, when God calls them, just like you said, they believe so long God has called me, He's calling me for a church. And they will just go to opening a church without understanding what God is calling them for.
Let me even tell you.
And they get to corrupt the people that they are supposed to empower with the knowledge of what God has called them to do.
Exactly. The narrative here is even funny. Pastors now don't even say they are pastors anymore. They choose names like prophet. They choose apostles. Because that one now has like more power. They can see visions and all. Yes. The truth about the matter is, it's so sad that people are hiding under the church to perpetrate a lot of evils. And that's why when you said the old church is better than new, I said no. Because maybe the perspective you are seeing these things from, you refer to them as church. I don't.
Okay.
People are opening business centers.
Okay.
We know that you don't open church because of financial gains. You
That is
open
that is the
church.
church of the now. That
No,
I'm
it's not
telling
the
you.
church of the now.
There's-
I'm a pastor of a church, and that's not what is happening here. So, and
but
we are
you
now.
know, some churches are open for this business purpose.
I already said that whatever is in vogue that is selling is what people will probably do.
Okay.
When Bet Nigeria started, New Nigeria became Bet.
So do you not agree with me that the church of those days are better?
No, it's not better off. You are just looking at the ones that are bad here, and you are calling them as church as
Because
well.
now you spoke of two things. You said, I didn't witness it, I heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I'm telling you of what I witnessed.
I'm saying these
Comparing-
ones you are calling churches are not. It's just like, okay, now let's say the school of those days, are they better than the schools of nowadays?
No, we're talking of church.
No. I just want to use that
Okay, okay.
to as metrics.
Okay, no.
You think the school of nowadays are better?
Yes.
The clothes of then, is it better than the clothes of now?
And fashion, like you said, I've set in.
Okay. The men of then, are they better than men of now?
No. The men of then,
The cars of then, are they better than cars of now?
no, the cast of now is
The shoes of then, are they better than shoes of now?
no, the one of now.
The wives of then, are they better than wives
I'll
of now?
fight that. The wife of now cannot be compared to the wife of then.
You see,
Even the same thing applies to men.
I just baited you and you dropped into it. Every other thing of now is better because 2020, whatever, will be better than previous. Just look at every item created. The new versions are better than the old, even in children. Our mentality, our brains are faster and better than theirs. Computers are better. Everything is better. The only two things that we will always argue is women and church, which both of them is centered around what? Ethics. So we are only talking about women, fighting about women, because we think women are supposed to dress well, they are supposed to support their husband. Everything is ethics. And that one is what? If you look at church, the same thing. Church is supposed to do like this, it's supposed to help people like this. They are not supposed to be collecting like this. It's still ethics. It's not like the church now is not better. It's just like when things go viral, everybody goes
Wants
to
follow the
it.
trend.
Yes. And the Bible had already even said it. What are we even discussing? The Bible said at the end time, false prophets will.
Okay. So now you believe we are living at the end time era.
Of course,
Okay.
the end time things will get worse. So, nowadays it's like during, what are we even saying? There was a time during Abraham's era that Abraham was saying, if you find 100 people, will you not?
Yes.
And you say it's good. You can't even find 2.
That's you
can't
took us
find 5.
you took us down to the church of those days or the people of those days.
If it had been bad
Me, I'm-
since
I'm
Abraham's
looking
era,
at-
how come it's now good in 1980? 1980 no go good
but
again
of
now.
the truth, but of the truth,
It's just perception.
I will still want to make you understand that I cherish the doctrine of the church of then. How they go about this
The
gospel.
doctrine is still here now.
No,
It's
the
still
gospel
changed.
now, they have over modernized it to the point that
Maybe the
the
people
people
you
have
are
lost-
you are listening to.
the people have lost their consciousness.
It's just like school. If you are a teacher in a class, you are teaching SS3 students, there are 250 in that class. You are a mathematics teacher, you are very good at it. And then all of them wrote WAEC and only 3 passed. The remaining 247 failed. Are you the cause of it?
No.
So why do we blame pastors for? I've never gone to any church. I don't really go to any church so I don't really know. Don't let me quote that. But I can tell that provided we can see one good pastor or 2, this church in this area is good. But because we have them in large quantity, they just pack people that have finesse, that have suit. They just go and learn. I can hear pastors that are viral saying that they learned you learned anointing.
Yeah.
You learned prophetshipness, whatever. You learned how to be a prophet. And you are saying it that this is your man of God, is the God of this generation, is Jesus general. General where? What are you generalizing? And you just see the hype. They call it something by association. By the time they hype you, if you already say you are his son, Shebi is big already now. And he allows you to preach on his altar. And then you too, you have followers because they see that you have joined the big league. So they are doing it's like you are featuring. Like Alabi feature Nathaniel Bassey. So they are featuring. So it's no longer like you have any real calling, because we don't really see a distinction in what you do. It's just like you have finesse, you have a good voice, you can talk, and psychology. Get to their libraries As a pastor, what books are you supposed to be reading? What are you doing with psychology? You are reading psychology.
That is true.
Because you are learning how you are leading marketing.
But that should be the pastors of this era.
Those days they don't have access to books, so we can't even
those
talk about
days
them.
they have access to discipline, and they were living by it. They understood
which is the culture. This era, Father, we have access to. For example, the greatest thing my dad ever accomplished that he said he wanted was to travel abroad. In their era, all those 1940, 1950, traveling abroad is the ultimate. For me here, even the companies I work with will say, we want to do something, you come. I say, I'm not going anywhere. That's me. I'm not interested. Some people in this era, UK, America, Canada, is still, especially our ladies, they will even date, they will leave their relationship here to go and date somebody who promised them something that is in UK. Because they are still slaves, technical slaves to all these Europeans. Me, I don't want to go anywhere. If I go, I just go. Not because I'm me. It's not like anything to me. Zero. But a lot of people still think that their life will be better when they get there.
Okay. So will you now agree with me that the Christianity we have these days don't have the kind of consciousness and conscience compared to the one of...
Okay, you know what we'll do? Maybe we have to put numbers to it. Because and this thing I want to say is like the jagaba of everything.
Okay.
If those guys are as good as you said, and they did a good job, why did the generation after them go spoiled?
I love this question. Now, the generation after them got influenced by this community you're talking
about. Okay, so that means...
Imagine I get born again now. Maybe I was once living this community life, and I get born again. The first thing that will come into me is the consciousness of the new life I have gotten into. Now, I should be afraid to want to live a sinful life. But now you see in this generation, most youths get born again, fall, or most youth in church.
My question is, life is transcend. Like everybody has it and then pass it to their generations. If the pastors then had done a good job, everybody had given their life to Christ. Beautiful. That's what you said, like they are very good. Is this era that we have pastors that are failing in?
No, at least this era, they are lacking.
The volume of human being living on earth is plenty. If you have the whole world at the time of 1980, maybe if you add everything together, maybe we're like 3-4 billion, right? Is it billion or trillion? I can't even remember the population of the world. What's the population of the world? 7 billion. Now it's about 9 billion. Then maybe it was 3 billion. So everything had doubled. So the people then had a little bit of job to do because plenty. Now it done plenty. And now there is now influence again.
That is giving them the room to live the kind of
what I'm trying to say is you can't track the percentages anymore like before. If we are just like maybe, like I told you, in my old town, we had 3 churches. So it's easier to know the 3 venerables and pastors that are there. And we can tell what they are doing and what's happening behind. But now you have 3,000 churches. How do you take data of that? And if you have 3,000 churches and you have 200 of them that is good, you will never see that they are good. Because you have 2,800 that is bad. That's what is happening. That's what I'm saying. It's not. But just look at, even if you have 3 those days and the whole 3 is good, compared to 200 that is good now, which one is better? 200 is good now. The only 3 those days, but it's the only 3 they had. But now 2,800 is bad. 200 is good. So the 200 will look as if it's not good. We have pastors that are good. We have church members that are decent. We have people who are running this thing like Jesus. They are few because the volume that is wrong, and now the volume that is also helping people to go to hellfire is more.
Okay, but the church of these days, most people can sin and still believe or behave like it wasn't a sin.
Yes, those are like what happens in the end days. And that's why all these false people are there. I've even had a very big pastor in Nigeria who says if you accept Jesus Christ, you can't go to hell again, even if you are committing sin. One day I will mention his name.
Yeah.
Very big pastor, very fine pastor with eloquence. Thank you. Okay, you now know what I'm talking about. He said, provided you have accepted Jesus Christ and you have confessed it, that no matter what you do, doesn't count. And with hundreds of millions of people in his church. Their member told me when they joined us, one of them, he said this is how they will go for all night VG and be Holy Spirit's tongue. And after the whole scenario, his boyfriend was like, we're gonna sleep. He said he's living with the boyfriend. So he will from boyfriend house go to come back and sleep again. So when he joined us and we start preaching the real deal, We didn't force them.
Now
She now saw that there is nothing like this. Then that was when she came and confided in that what they taught them is, provided you give your life to Christ, whatever you are doing is permissible. That's why there are plenty there now.
So, okay. What do you talk of their conscience now? They want most of the Christians of these days and then, who still maintain their conscience?
There is no metrics to gauge what consciences are or what is not. So we can't really say maybe the conscience now is bad or then. For example, this lady I just told you, for years, she was about 43 years that time. I don't know when she joined the church and all, but when she joined us, she came after 2 years and told me that that's 2 years of me preaching before she got to that level. 2 years. I'm one of the very blunt preachers that I don't mix God's power with anything. We just go straight to it and do it. But 2 years before she said that. Some other persons would have said, what was our conscience or what was I doing? So that's why, these metrics cannot be. This thing we are discussing is only on perspective.
Okay.
We don't have statistical things to back it up. So we can't really say this one. But I just know that something that is volume. If you put petrol in my hand like this, even if it catches fire, I probably will not burn me before I dispose of it. Yes. Put petrol in this house and then it catches fire. Then you now tell me, then I will now go and give testimony that this is how petrol was in my hand. And somebody will now say, this is how petrol is where I am. The volume. In science, concentration is different.
That's right.
So those days, they were not much. And at that point, they were actually fighting against demons and herbalists and all. Okay. This era, we are not fighting demons like that again. We are no longer, everybody is woke. Demons have woke. Demon can use laptop now. In this era. So the suffer now, the pain now, is no longer what it was then. That's why it's easy. Now we are fighting against all this wokeism. That's what we are doing now. And feminism. Somebody left.
Do you now believe that or agree with me that the church of then is...
Yeah, okay. In mathematics, when we do all these volumes, you have to divide it to be able to get the answer. If I put this in perspective...
No, but then we don't have much church like now. But
like I said, just calculate all the churches we had then. Calculate all the church. Let's assume all of them did well. And they are 100. And all of the 100 did well. Let's say they have members. 4,000. Now, we have 100 million members and 10 million churches. If only 100,000 pieces of those do well, is times what? That's times 10,000 of the old. There's no way 100 will be better than 100,000. Just let's say when Jesus comes back and he wants to pick the saints, the volume of people that he will pick now will be way more than that. So Jesus that is so interested in winning souls, which one do you think he will prefer? Let's even say we are not talking now that it's Jesus that is here. And he says in the olden days, so I saved 10. All of the 10 came. And then in this era, there are 100 million and then 10 million is saved. Which one is plenty? So if I agree with you that...
It just reminded me of Abraham's conversation with God when he said, what if you get 10? What if you get 50? What if you get... No, but of a truth, I understand your point. When I'm trying to see a situation whereby the Christianity of these days can have conscience of what they are doing.
Which is our job. Our job is to continue to preach it as many as we can lay hands upon. Somebody in Indonesia will still continue this conversation and say, pastors are doing nothing. But you would have been for the next 10 years, you could have been preaching the truth and nobody will even see, because maybe the whole jurisdiction is about 5,000 people you are covering.
Yeah.
Out of 9 billion people. That's why I said we can't put it into perspective.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, and Reinhard Bonnke, we know that Reinhard Bonnke know the lie. He's dead now. All his life was an evangelist, truthful one. He would bring money to Nigeria for all these pastors, but they will be stealing the money. And how many did he do? With that volume of Reinhard Bonnke, how many did he do?
That's true.
So, if we say maybe churches are this, it's very difficult to analyze church or analyze pastors.
Yeah, I'm looking at the area of their conscience. Because if the church of these days can live with this conscience of keeping away from evil and doing good, you will notice that the work of the pastor will be less.
But the devil too is doing extra time now.
And the pastor should work more now in focusing on
pastors have lost focus.
And that's why I said the church of now should place more focus on the soul that God has given them. Because even Peter lost the same soul thing. He left, Jesus told him, I'm going to make you a fisher of men. He left the call and went back to something else. And Jesus came back to him and said, feed my people. Now the idea is, don't even stop. Continue feeding them with the good word, which is the gospel.
Yeah, but
so that at some points they will be living with this consciousness of who they are dealing with and who they are serving. So if you tell them today and tomorrow you don't tell them, you are not helping them.
I agree with you, because at the end of the day, the leaders are to blame for everything.
That is
but
where I'm driving
the
at.
challenge here is, if you live in a community where what they do is eat, let's say granite,
Okay.
and then you are selling beans,
Okay.
will you ever sell?
No.
So you are asking pastors who also have their own income, families, everything on the same thing, and they are telling them to continue to say things about consciousness, about achieving Jesus Christ and all. With time, they are these fake people. They are opening easy churches and making it look easy for them.
Okay.
They have all the best brandings in the world. They will carry out their fine girls and put aside with short skirts. So the boys that are supposed to come to where they will wear the real word of God, they will take them over. They don't mind if you are sleeping with their girls. They don't care.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, pastor self go on brand, because it's just a normal, human beings are competitive. Whether you're a Christian, non-Christian, whatever, you are competitive. If your mate is doing, even when we're younger, if you cry home and your mom say, what's wrong with you? And you say, my mate beat me. What would she tell you?
She told you
because nobody wants their mates to win them.
Okay, now look at this scenario. You know the story of Peter, Ananias, and Sapphira.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine this thing happened in a congregation of 3,000. Husband came in and died. Wife came in and died. What will happen to the remaining members?
They will leave your church.
No. That time in the past.
Wait.
No.
What do you think will happen?
In the past. Okay, now that's now.
Yeah, now they will.
In the past, they will live their life on a platform of conscience. They will be afraid of falling.
Let me mention something that you have missed a little about. Light intensity is highest when you are closer to it. When Jesus came, people closer to him could feel it. The next generation could still feel it more. You see the dilution with wrong teaching, everybody starting. Assuming we have one single church.
And then there weren't much church like.
But now, me and you now will get quarrel tomorrow. You two will say, waiting, way I don't know. So, and when you open your own, your lifestyle, let me say this now. Every business takes the shape of its owner. Every business. So anywhere a leader is, that organization takes the shape of the head that is there. If the head is funny, you discover that the atmosphere will be funny. If he's one very terrible strict person, that's how the environment will be, because he's the one dishing out the information. So whatever is dishing out, the way he's doing things, that's how it will spread across everybody. Because people that work with any leader, they don't want to go against what he's saying.
Those gay pastors, their members are in trouble.
I can guarantee it for you, 50% of their members will be gay. But devil is helping them. It's just like Illuminati. It's part of the packaging. They are trying to confuse the house of God. They are trying to scatter everything. And then the best option to use, if you go against God, you fall. But they align with God and put some things inside that will pollute it. It's like tasting poison. You put food like this, you put small poison inside. If you eat the whole food, provided your mouth tastes that poison, you will die. So that's what they're doing. It's a strategy that most church members now never know. So instead of them to head on increase their own volume, so it can be louder than that of the devil, most churches are still busy building 120,000 seater. There are sinners who come and live in.
That's where I'm driving at.
It's just unfortunate.
That's why I'm still insisting that the church of those days, they weren't so into building tabernacles.
They built.
They weren't so into it. That what I'm trying to, their focus was more of the souls, because they believe, if I get these 10 souls to heaven, I will be fulfilled.
But the challenge now is the people, and that's when there is fake, that's the problem with fake. Probably everything we sell in Nigeria is fake.
Okay.
So we really don't have access to original things. That's the problem with when the people at the top are not doing well.
Okay.
Because I can guarantee to you, if the biggest of the biggest, if they stayed on the truth, these younger ones will not start debating.
Now you're getting
one day, they opened one biggest auditorium in Nigeria, they said in Abuja. I was pastoring a church. The senior pastor was there that day. So it was new. So one of my own assistant came with information that they have opened this big place. I don't want to mention the names.
I get
They have opened this big place in Abuja and all. I was like, the first thing I said, I was like, wow, that's gracious. That's good. I always see the place is big. You know what my GO said that time? He said, it's okay. God will do our own too. Which we have. I turned to him. I was like, sir, God will do your own. Like, what are you saying? Somebody achieved something for the kingdom of God. You're happy. Is it a competition? What's yours? Like, I don't understand it. I said, sir, what God will do? Maybe that was how they discontinued with us.
Yeah. But will you agree with me that most of these members that goes there because of the name and the beauty of the
Yeah, you can use anything to attract people to the kingdom of God. Jesus used different strategies to get people in. But the thing I'm particular about is when you get people in, continue to one way or the other, majorly 80% teach them that truth. That 20% you can use it for it's just like a house. I don't go to my house every day, shout everybody, you must read the book, or you must read. I know reading your book for my children is the most important, but I still say, okay, let's go and play basketball, or okay, let's play football, But majorly, I will say, if you don't read the book, you probably not have money. You have to
on the 80%.
80%. So you just slash it to 80-20. If everybody can maintain that, you see that things will get better.
So now the church of these days, do you think they are still operating on that 80-20? Or
the ones you see.
So 80% packaging, they have left the truth under 20%.
No, the ones you see. Those are the ones that are popular. They're the ones online. They're the ones that have money for adverts. They're the ones that have money for billboards. Just come to Osun State. Go to mountains there. You see Baba that is 72 years old. He has been there for the past 55 years. He's not collecting money anywhere. He's
operating on the mentality of the church of those days.
And you have younger ones who are like even 30, 40, 50, 20. They are there. People still give their children to God like Samuel's mother did. Yes. So we can't just fault. Now!
No, there's a village you call, a state you call.
Osun State.
But it can be in this trending areas.
Okay, are we saying now that when Jesus comes now, you first of all go and deal with Osun before he now comes to Abuja?
No. Because from what you just said, the people there, they are dealing with a man that is from that past and is maintaining the doctrine of how he grew up.
No, not one person, no. I'm talking of different. Okay. We have like maybe 6-7 mountains of different states.
Yeah.
Osun, we have Ekiti, Osun State, Kwara. Like we have different places. And all of them are maintaining that. The only thing I just see is what we have access to on social media and maybe TVs and all is what we probably will use to judge. But those of us that are always going to mountain to pray here and there, we see them. Yes. We know that people are Christians. My father is a pastor. You think he's preaching all these Jabajantis? You think so?
You can imagine the kind of message he preach. Based on where it's coming from.
But the funniest thing, I gave my life to Christ before my dad.
Now.
So I'm like senior to my dad.
Yeah, you're right. But do you know that majority of the youth won't want to go to his church?
Some will go. That's what, when the first thing I told when we started this thing was culture will always have massive influence. I am blessed to have the ability to bridge culture and spirituality.
Church.
So now for people in church, they will probably not have the problem like the world. Okay. And you can see by the setup we're having. Unless the devil is living in your sitting room, if you have a good job and then you have good service work, which means you listen to the truth, and then you have the capacity to work for God, why would you become all these people? Why? Unless something is wrong. But when people don't have other options, can anybody invite me to a church now? What will I go and do there? But if I'm looking for a child and I don't have I don't want to go to Babalawo, and it's not like I'm prayerful, I just know that it's God that can do it for me. Every church, they tell you their pastor has power, that's where you're going. But if a Christian from maybe secondary school and then got married and didn't have a child, will she start looking for children like that?
I don't think so.
So it's basic, and that's one thing. I'm going to really work on catching them young, like people in secondary school, all of this, so that when they grow, they can grow into something decent. You see all these people that are already grown, 35, 38, they're already in trouble. So it takes extra care to be able to bring them up to Christ. Because Jesus will say, leave all this you are doing, follow me. As he followed them, who fed Peter, Mark, John? Who fed them when they were with Christ? Which work were they doing? Answer it.
Yeah. The women were sowing into their ministry.
When the women came along, before the women came along, who was feeding them?
I get it.
So Jesus was their Oga and he was feeding. And he wasn't collecting offering, he wasn't collecting anything. But nowadays, the Oga at the top self will first of all go and be collecting.
Yeah.
And some of them will not even feed the people under them. So it is more like people who are no longer called to ministry, who see it as a job or a source of survival. They are the ones that most of us now are using as metrics to gauge the church. They are not.
Okay. I get your point.
The metric is not them.
But they are tagged to church.
Ah.
Because there's no way you can
Okay, this is a radio station. We are doing podcast, but I can say it's a radio station.
That's true.
And then I'll say we are streaming on frequencies, then 97.2.
No, sometimes the truth has to be told that we should come to the point where we should understand what this church world is all about compared to what the church as a person is all about. So if I have a pastor that don't fail to tell me the truth, he has done me one great good by giving me a conscience to live with. But if I have a pastor that is full of life and happens to be too busy, I won't have any conscience of what I'm doing if it's good or bad.
But let the shaft
do you know that,
and the
do you know
wheat
that,
grow
do you know
together.
that, do you know that, okay, these Yahoo boys these days, do you know that they have pastors that prays for them?
Yes, I know
So,
that long time ago.
Are the pastors giving them any spirit of conscience in them?
You see, that's the thing. You see, assuming you are inside me, immediately you said you have pastors praying for them. It felt as if somebody used knife. Because I know it's no pastors praying for them.
Yeah.
Those guys are just... You understand what I'm saying?
I get you.
It's not possible.
I get you.
I was in Ekiti when somebody who brought tithe and offering, I know him to be a Yahoo boy. My bishop didn't know. I was in the office when he came. So I told Bishop, I said, I'm a troll. Like, I said, Bishop, you don't collect. Say, how much will that person bring to sow to your life? He said, 100K then. No. I said, wow. Pastor said, yeah. The Bishop said, yes. That now at least we can buy petrol here because the church is always needing money you know. So I said, did you even ask the guy? I know he's Yahoo. So I said, did you ask the guy which work he does? He said, yes, he asked him that he's importing. Importing what? He said, I did not ask who. I just said, what was, when he said importing, I just said, oh, okay, importation. I said, he said, but I've been seeing him in church. I said, so everybody wake on church now. Now I be Christian. So was I like, what do you know? Tell me. I said, the boy in Yahoo, so most of the time when they collect, they will now want to wash the remaining. That's how they come and give you. How will the boy who is supposed to be in 300 level? He said, what? He's a student? I said, somebody that does not even have I said, Papa, I said, I know they know. Papa said, that wasn't what he said. I just thought maybe because he's tall and huge, but he doesn't have beers and all. I said, how is somebody without beer looking, does that look old? And I said, I didn't notice so. He kept the money. All the things that's supposed to be, I said, no. You get on. The next Sunday, I was in church. When he just said, brothers, they made them wait for them after service. After service like this, immediately, as he was leaving they sit on the altar. When he was going to the back to see him inside his own office, he just did his hand to me like this. I just followed. We got to say, I want to pray for you. Like, thank you for that. As the prayer finished, I was thank you. He said, and I think I should also sow something for you. He carried that heavy load back like this, so I'm back. That one left.
Okay.
Now when he left, I was like, Papa, why you not tell us this? He said, no be like that. That's what they do. Say now, stay after stay. Yeah. If you tell us say na Yahoo, first he go say how you take no. He can feel insecure, like maybe you can arrest him or he won't feel that love of Christ. So I learned that you don't really go head on people. So he let him go. Then I think after the guy was to come to church. After 3 weeks, he called him again. And then started appealing to him like sometimes act of survivor. Me, I wasn't interested in any of those conversations because I think that particular day even said, excuse me, so that I won't, because I'm always with my bishop 247. So I just left. And that was one thing because I mentioned it, because I knew.
Okay.
So many pastors will not even know. So maybe when they now catch the guy will now say he's always giving something in church. You now say he's pastor. How will pastor know? He has done due diligence by asking. How will you be asking somebody what they do? I will tell you to go and bring your ID card before you pay to church. So unless you're a pastor, it's very weak. Anybody can criticize at any point.
Yes.
but it's really subtle. Most time, if you get into that scenario yourself, you probably even handle it worse than what the genuine ones are handling with. But I can guarantee 80% of churches today is balable. There's nothing to write on.
I wouldn't doubt that, because we have more of arranging miracles going on under the umbrella of church and pastor. But in those days, they weren't more of this.
No, in those days, they weren't arranging to be pastors. Pastors were going to the herbalists to collect power.
Okay.
You know, it's time and season now. Everybody has what is going wrong with their generation. That generation is they go over to collect power and then come and be using this building like this in church and all. They do that.
Yes.
But this era, you don't need to go to herbalists again. You just turn your place to church.
Okay.
And call yourself one emeritus apostle.
Simon the sorcerer, or they call him. He was into performing miracle with his charm.
Yeah, so sorcerers.
So, but in this era, like you said, in those days they go to herbalists.
Yeah, to collect power to use. So
at some point when Peter and Philip and others came, and he saw the miracle that Peter performed, he was like, he wanted to buy their powers. He was thinking
it's something that is like yeah.
But if you check in this era now, when a pastor see another pastor perform miracles, he may go to him and say, "How far is it happening?"
Yeah.
And that one may be a fake pastor will tell him.
They will initiate him.
So
and
now it's happening on this particular period of church.
But they still brand all these fake ones, and their generations are packaging it as
but
church.
they are overwhelming and they are overpopulating the main
narrow
church.
Is the way. Few people are going to be there. You are talking about it like all of us in the world will go to heaven. No. Few people will go. So if you want all these, assuming all these pastors that we have in the world, they are saying the truth and all, the whole world will go to heaven. Because that's 48% of the world. But like I said, 20%. So just divide that 48% by 20% again. So narrow is the way. That's why I tell people who are like on the Lord's side and are striving to get into heaven, just be happy and be glad that you saw the light. It's not a common thing to see. People, you see, when some people, members of church, when they come and tell me something, I'll just be looking at them like, it's like these people doesn't, is it Jesus Oyibo, Jesus Oyibo that they know? It doesn't even sound like the real Jesus that we all read about. Because number one, most people, if you want to keep anything from a black man, keep it in a book. They won't see it. So most of them don't read the Bible. And then even when you read the Bible, you need the higher percentage of Holy Spirit, heavy one, to interpret it deeply to you. Because like I told my dad yesterday when we were just there, like some people just hold the Bible. Oh, she, the pastor, the people reading will say, oh, she, then they will say, oh, she, Joanno, need to about me. That was it. Joanno, like you are reading the Bible, you are reading it back to me, and I'm reading back to you, like, and you are saying you are preaching. I was like, no. All those things put together is like, we are not going to stop our work of telling as many people as we can cover the truth. And we'll be praying that God's kingdom will overrun all these fake pastors and all of that. But I know narrow is the way. It won't be that much. But then, now we've reached a loggerhead. I am saying the new generational pastors, new generational churches are better off, in quotes, than the old. What do you think? Do you think the old is better than the new? Put that all up and then we will read. Thank you very much, Sir Wonder, for coming. We hope you will grant us your audience again when next we call on you. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you in the next podcast.